Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here. My name is... Do you hear? That's fine? Okay. My name is Netta Cohen. I'm the CEO of BGN Technologies. BGN Technologies is the technology transfer company of Ben-Gurion University. I won't talk about parks in general. I'll discuss the technology transfer in BGU and what we think is the way to do things with regard to tech transfer and how to look beyond the tech transfer. So that's in general. Ben-Gurion University is located in the Negev arid zone in the middle of the desert. This is the southern part of Israel. About 60% of the land of Israel is a desert. Only 10% of the population, but you can see those three campuses. In the middle of Israel, there is Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So it's not that far. In Israeli terms, it's down there in the desert, but in European terms, it's just beside the around the corner. Anyhow, we have three campuses. The major one in Beersheba is this is most of the university is there. 90% of the research is done there. The second one is very, very interesting. It's the Men in the Desert campus. So it's men in agriculture, men in the desert, men in solar energy in the desert, men in water in the desert, etc. Let's say until 5 years ago, nobody cares. But those days, when water and the lack of water is very important, when solar energy become very meaningful for the alternative energy area, etc., this campus became very important for Israel and for the world. Ben-Gurion University had 5,000 students about 15 years ago, but now it's 20,000. And this amazing growth is not the normal way a university will act, 1% a year or something. So an organization such as this that grew so much, like any other organization, it doesn't really important if it's university or a company or whatever, it has certain characters which are not the same, such as another organization which is stabilized for the last years. So what happened is it grew very fast in students number, but obviously and for us this is more important, number of researchers. This is the only place in Israel that really recruit in Israeli universities. So a lot of people from Israelis that went to Europe and to the States and want to get back to Israel with their families and did things, manage departments and everything, and want to get back, this was the only place that really recruit. So what happened along those years that quality went up and the age went down. So it became the third largest in Israel. Another topic that out of the engineering faculty members in Israel, in Israeli universities, one third is located, researchers are doing their research in BGU. So that's a great power. In BGU, you could find many, many applied research areas, such as those you could see here, from environment, water, alternative energy, to data, information security, to nanotechnology, to biotechnology engineering, etc. So the range is huge, and those are just samples of what we do. We don't have a law school, but all the others is there. So I'm the CEO of BGN Technologies. In most of Europe, in the States, in the US, there is a tech transfer office within the university. In Israel, most of the universities have tech transfer company. And you think it's, okay, that's just a name. But no, there's a crucial element in it. Because we're fully owned by the university, but the university doesn't really support in money-wise. They support us very well in other things, but not in money. So we need to bring the money ourselves. So the outcome is that, a tech transfer can be a barrier or a carrier, and we need to be a carrier. We cannot hold back things, because I need to pay salaries at the end of the month. That's the difference. And that's a huge difference. Why a bridge? I would point out two things. One is culture. Cultural bridge between academia and industry. They speak different languages. They understand the same language differently. Timetable is totally different for people from both sides, from academia and from the industry. Every aspect of their life, what they want to achieve, if they want to publish or not, who they report to, who can fire them or not, etc. Everything. Okay, so think of two people that went to have their postdoc at Stanford, okay, and they came back to Israel. One would go to work in BGU as a professor, and the other one would work, let's say, for Intel. Okay, they studied together, everything. After 3 months, they cannot speak again. They understand everything differently. So just think every aspect of their life. So it's a cultural thing, a language thing between two different parties with different culture. So that's the first thing. The second one is the gap that we have with industry. Well, we are at the idea, or maybe if we are very, very high at the feasibility, but there's a long, long way up to the product. But a company, especially multinationals, they don't really care about what we do. They care about next year's sales and next quarter. Or if they look very, very to the future, that's 3 years, that's a long future. And we are not there. We are just at the beginning of a chain, and the end of the chain is so far, and we need to acknowledge that. So that's the second gap and the second bridge that needs to be built between the two. BGU Technologies, as I described, it's a fully owned company, fully owned by the university, responsible for actually all the cooperation with industry. This is both when we own the intellectual property, the technology, and the know-how, but also the other way around. And people tend to forget about this side. When the industry has the knowledge, the intellectual property, the patents, but they need a high-level research, that's the other end of the scope. And I can say that we are working on all these different sides, this end, the other end, or in the middle, when we have mutual ownership of intellectual property, mutual research, etc. So we handle all the industry-academia relationship. We handle the invention, the patents, and then we are looking for people to take it to the market. And on the other hand, we are working a lot with industry to assist their R&D and their efforts. The main issue is not, as I see it, is not how I push my technology to the company, but how we combine their needs and our capabilities. And I think that's the focus of what I have to say here. A lot of people look on tech transfer, how to transfer my technology to the other. This is one aspect, but it's not all. It's how to combine things, how to really understand on our side what are the needs on the industry side. And I think that's very, very important. We work a lot with the industry. You can see that we signed actual agreement with 150 different companies. So we signed hundreds of agreements. A lot of the companies we will sign more than one agreement or more than one project because they think we can really contribute. You could see that we're working from 2 people in a garage in a startup up to 200,000 in a multinational. So you would ask, okay, what's the model? And the answer would be, there's no model. The model is that there's no model. And think about it. There's the researcher. Every researcher is in a different life cycle, different place of his academic life or professional life. Each technology would be different in how prepared it is for the market. And obviously, every company that we deal with is totally different. I can look at two companies from the same, exactly the same market, same size, everything. One would say, okay, give me your patent. I'm fine. I have my own R&D. I will call you when there is a cash at the end of the road. And the other one would say, don't go. We need your researcher. We want to give you guided money for research. We want to have maybe a startup together, et cetera, et cetera. So the outcome is that we must have a tailor-made suit for each project. So that's very tough. I mean, it's much easier to say, this is my box. Please, nice company, jump into my box. But we don't think that's the way to handle things. We think you need to be very, very, very flexible. Also, there's the question of what the target of the equation. Do you want to have the best of the highest of the quality of an agreement at the end, but you might end up with less agreement than the other one that would say, okay, I don't need to get the best of the best. I'm okay with not getting all my terms, but maybe half of them, but still I will have 10 times more agreements and obviously at the end technologies that are going to the market. So you need to understand and you need to decide where you are at this paragraph. The outcome, if you look at the average of on the upper side of the US tech transfer, you can see, or US universities, you can see that only 7% of the funds are coming from industry. All the others are from the government, from academic funds, NIH, etc. For us, it's 60%, so more than double. That's to illustrate that we bring kind of more to the university than others would bring from industry. Few samples of what we do with few of the models. Okay, that's a startup on the communication side with the fiber optics, high-speed fiber optics for communication. And I don't know if you can see the date, but beginning of 2010, not a lot of companies around the world got this sum. So this is a very promising company, about 3 years old, spin-off of the university, very promising, very, very nice project. That's another one. Just 2 or 3 months ago, got this nice investment. That's a medical device. The implant of to the cartilage. Anyhow, I won't go into details, but that's just to illustrate. We might take a project to create a startup. The same project might be licensed to Johnson & Johnson or to a very small company that will take it to the next step. So you never know. Either you are the first of two in this chain of getting to the market, but you might be the first out of 10 companies that will take your technology and will bring it to the market. So we created about 25 startups the last few years. So that's one route, but it's not the major one. We have hundreds of other projects that went directly to the industry. So that's a very interesting startup. That's the for concentrated solar energy, and that's the first actually connected to the grid in Israel. All the others are we're talking about. That's 2 years ago, but they are the first to really be there. They are providing half of the energy and the hot water for a community of 500 families, together with the very large manufacturing site. So that's very, very neat, very nice. Amazing dishes, like out of space satellites really landed in this field. Anyhow, it is working, very efficient, very, very nice, very good. That's another model. The chain that I discussed, that's we gave a license to a relatively small Israeli company, and then they brought it from preclinical to, that's a medical device, by the way. They brought it and they brought it to the second phase, and then they sold it out again to a medium-sized private American company that I assume will go it further, but still will look for their Johnson & Johnson or Pfizer or whatever, or any other company that will bring it to the real market. So you see, that's the chain and the beginning of the chain, and we are getting some part of this some at the headline. That's from March this year. That's a different model, getting investment fund directly into a project. So that's another one, another model. That's from April. Again, creating a startup, but with very interesting model of, I won't get into details, but that's another model of, and that's from 3-4 weeks ago. So, as I said, we are flexible and we are looking for new models. That's the concept. But sometimes we work directly with multinationals. This is Bayer. This is about plants and their toleration to heat and salt. This is with France Telecom. I just hosted their one of their R&D offices just in Beersheba just a few hours ago. So that's working directly to a multinational with different culture, with different needs, etc., than a small company. So it's not just between us and a company, but also between different companies. This is This is another model, very interesting one. Working with ExxonMobil, this small company, oil company, the biggest in the world for oil. This is about alternative energy. But what is interesting here is that there's a cooperation of this multinational, us, and a very small Dutch company that brought them something else for the project, for the R&D aspect. So that's another very interesting model. This wasn't published yet. You see the date. It's tomorrow or 3 days from now, 2 days from now. But I think you could keep it as a secret, right? That's a very, very interesting cooperation that we have with Cincinnati Children's Hospital. This is the second largest, or the third largest pediatric hospital in the US. And they thought medical devices for pediatric is not getting the attention that it needs to be getting. You know, it's not just taking what was created or research for adults and just minimize it. It's different biology, different needs, etc. So they decided they're going to promote from the need side, and they want to look for capabilities. And well, we just signed today the agreement, and this is going to be a great cooperation, another model of how to have these needs and capabilities together, which, as I said, this is the way I like things to happen. So this is very, very nice. I'm very proud of this one. We obviously only at the beginning of it, but it looks very, very promising. Okay, EMC. EMC, that's a very interesting story. Not only that we have the cooperation with EMC, they also moved their office. They are having 2 offices in Israel, one in Herzliya in the center of Israel, and the other one just moved to Beersheba, near the university. So the cooperation is much more than having an agreement with. So they thought they might gonna get there and be there. And EMC, I don't know if you know, this is one of the biggest in the world for storage of data and protecting data. So that's a nice combination with what we have at the data and communication area at the university. Deutsche Telekom arrived 2005. We had one very interesting project. 6 months later, they decided they're going to have this Deutsche Telekom Labs at BGU. That's the official name. So that's the real essence of getting needs and capabilities. So that's in Beersheba, in the university. That's their only out of Germany R&D lab. Okay, so maybe they thought they would find something. So that was 2006. And 2009 they decided, you can see the headline, they're going to double their investment. So they are investing a lot. And they are not investing in buildings, nor in offices, but in real projects. And a project wouldn't start without academic group, but wouldn't start also without someone, a person, an officer from one of their business units, T-Labs, T-Mobile, T-System, etc. We have about 17 projects already. I think they're happy. Okay, the outcome. This year, we had 130 different agreements with the industry. Some of them with the same company, some of them with specific companies. So about 60 different companies this year. Hundreds of meetings with industry. Dozens of visits of industry coming to Israel and coming to the university. Impact, direct impact. 400 researchers in the university are working on applied research funded by money that we brought into the university. In our spin-offs, about 300 workers, and this is when I'm saying workers, this is the very high level salary at the high-tech level, not low salaries, but very, very high. Hundreds of workers in the industry side, because when we're having this mutual research, people are working in the university, but hundreds of people are working in the industry side. And about 20 million euros that are coming from the industry and from the government directly in related to those investment of the industry. So this is a little group of people, less than 10 people. We are having a lot of outsourcing people that are working for us, patent attorney, lawyers, advisors, technology advisors, business advisors, but our group is very small. But we thought that's not enough. The university, as you saw, is in the middle of 60% of the land of Israel, a region which is periphery for Israel. So we thought if the university has this vision of promoting the region, we cannot do everything, but we can contribute to this economic growth of the region. So I put here some examples of things that we do, and I can assure you that it will not bring us $1 for the next few years. So it's not for the money, but it's for the economic growth of the region, of the area. We created a group that won the Israeli government tender to create the Alternative Energy Center in the south of Israel, composed of 5 different companies from the money side, from the strategic side, from the technology side, and together we won this tender. About $30 million just for alternative energy spin-offs. We have the same model for water technology center that will be located hopefully not far from the university. We created and we still assist the BioNegev organization, which is a regional center for biotechnology in the Negev, in the area, in the region. Ringham Cafe is something that we assist the community side. This is a youth at risk that studied how to walk and how to be a part of society. But that's just our contribution. I checked the numbers, and in the university, out of the 20,000 students, 6,000 students are involved in community life and in community actual action in the city. And it's a city of 200,000 with about 3,000 students. So the city in the south of Israel, not the highest level or grade, and a lot of students are working in the society, in the area, in the city. So that's very important for the university as well. Student Innovation Center, that's a very neat thing that we are part of, a technology incubator that will be beside the university, again for spin-offs. So that's just to illustrate. We look at it at a much higher level than just making the next dollar or the next euro or whatever. And that's the renewable energy research center that I talked about. It's a very interesting project. Already having a few companies, a few startups just started less than a year ago. And that's the next step of cooperation between industry and it's very hot here, or just me? Because everybody is falling asleep, including me, so I'm going to finish in a few minutes, okay? Okay, that's the next level of cooperation. This is the university. That's the Soroka Medical Center, which is the second largest hospital in Israel, just across the street. And here the university and the city decided to create this advanced technology park, which will host companies both from high-tech area and from biology area, to have this triangle. And as the mayor of the city said, this is the most important project for the city for the next decade. EMC is moving to the park. Deutsche Telekom is moving to the park. And a few others that you might not recognize the name, but medium to large scale companies, most of them multinationals, that are coming to the park. From the high-tech area or zone, we are settled. There is a great anchor, and it's going to happen. Now we are working on the bio side to look for this company that will, or companies that will be our anchor for the bio side, because we have this hospital, hundreds of thousands of people working on bio issues, and then we don't need all of Pfizer to be here, but maybe the first 20 people from Pfizer to create the area, the zone, and the ecosystem. So this is a very unusual university in its the way it was organized and grew very fast. There is a total management commitment. This is not obvious in universities for applied research, and we have this. And because it's relatively new, everything is dynamic, and I would say it's not stiff yet. So a lot of interdisciplinary work is done within departments and faculty. What about the time? Do we have 5 minutes? Okay.
Israel's first prime minister had a dream to make the Negev desert bloom. Today, the miracle that's blooming in the desert is business. Ben-Gurion University of the Negev is Israel's fastest growing and most dynamic university. BGN Technologies, the university's technology transfer company, is responsible for the commercialization of innovations and promotion of inventions by university researchers.
BGN Technologies, the technology transfer company of Ben-Gurion University, is responsible for the commercialization of know-how and invention created by the university's researchers. We experienced tremendous growth over the last 6 years. Patent application tripled itself. Hundreds of agreements with industry were signed. We created more than 25 startups based on BGU technologies.
It's very important for us to be the first to introduce new technology. It's few years of advantage. When we are looking into new areas, we always come from the operational side. The researchers know the technology, we know better the application, and you need to close the gap.
The research without it involving imaging of concealed objects. We can image through handbags and suitcases and so on.
You want the researcher to be practical. BG Negev understand the importance of that both for the university, for the researchers, and for the industry.
Many times I came to BG Negev and I asked for a particular solution, and they would help me find the expert who may help in completing this solution. I'm opening a Center of Excellence in Be'er Sheva for EMC and RSA because the business ecosystem is still sparse. The academic environment is rich.
In our joint effort of EMC and BGU, we're going to develop what I think will be cutting-edge storage software management tools for storage in the cloud, which is now a very, very hot topic.
Normally, researchers do not have good business understanding. So matching researchers with businesses is really the job of BG Negev, and I think that they are doing a fantastic job.
Innovation is the key to growth. Innovation is the key to competitiveness. Our Deutsche Telekom labs, laboratories located at creative innovation centers such as Berlin, California, and, very importantly, in Be'er Sheva. Over the past years, we added a much more institutional approach to our business relations. From operating a unit of Deutsche Telekom labs in Be'er Sheva to the global enterprise R&D cooperation framework between the State of Israel and Deutsche Telekom.
We're doing all kinds of projects related to usability and security.
We are proud that we're active in Israel.
The Ben-Gurion University of the Negev has a center of biotechnology. In the United States, there are 1 million heart attacks a year. So the question is, how can one prevent this process of stretching, thinning of the heart leading to congestive heart failure? The answer is a material which is extracted from brown algae, provides a splinting of the heart so that it heals in a normal structure. BG Negev, this interface between academia and industry, and then a company like Icaria can really make a big difference in the future of many, many people's lives.
Our research at BGU is really pioneering, and we are really at the frontier. And the results that we get from our work with industry has a really impact.
This whole thing is about bridging. That's what BG Negev does, and they do it fantastically well.
It is taking a theoretical idea to the phase of final product.
They can give our students exposure and opportunity to see cutting-edge technology as it is being developed.
BG Negev helps transform ideas into products.
They go beyond what a commercialization office at the university normally does.
It gives us really the ability to have a technology edge.
It gives you a big competitive advantage in the market.
We are glad to work together to find new solutions for the patient's benefit.
It has become another heartland of innovation.
From concept to product, BGN Technologies is here to bridge the gap, creating a smooth development path for innovative ideas and technologies for the scientist as well as the business sector.
I think it's a win-win situation.
That's it. I'll be happy to answer questions if any. Yes?
Are you spin-off companies separate from BGN, or is it a part of it?
This is, well, I don't know what separate is.
In other words, is it own autonomous company, or is it part of the...
Oh, it's always autonomous companies separate from the university. But for some of them, we keep an interest. I mean, obviously for all of them we do, but for some, for example, we will hold the equity, and we might be directors in some of them, in their board of directors, but never be a majority. We look for being those who brought the technology, but someone would bring the money, someone will bring the management, and together we will do things. We will never be more than 50%, so things needs to be, you need the light over there for the camera. Control is over there. I will do that, it's no problem. Here, okay, here, and then, okay. You see, too much technology. But anyhow, we think it's a process. We need to fade out, management-wise, technology-wise, etc. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
One of your slides, you mentioned that one of the services you provide is sponsored research.
Right.
How does that compare or contrast to what the research authority does at Ben-Gurion University?
If it's funds from academic funds, academic resources, it's not us. All that connected to the industry. I'm not talking about if I don't know, GM would have this academic grant. No, still it's an academic grant, but everything that connected to basically to industry. So I think it's a very relatively simple distinguish. We don't find many things that we fight over. It's yes.
How do you organize your technology scouting towards the university itself? Because you said you were a team of 10 people, which is rather small.
Actually, the team is smaller. It's 3.5 people in business development, and all the others are money, secretaries, etc. So we are 3.5, 4 people, let's say, in actual business development. It's not enough. We probably do better with 30. But like any other business, we need to be cost effective. The ratio, investment to, etc. It's not the best. The model might be better if we had another 1 million euro every year. But it still, it works, you know. I have people in different areas, in engineering, in biotechnology, etc. And those people, in a way, if you look at the university and you say, okay, there are, from out of the 850, 100, let's say 800, about 500 are in the technology area. Okay, so each one of them would have average of 3 different research. Okay, so it's 1,500 different research programs that are being done at the same time. Still, applied research is not everything. I would say even minority. So either the professor would come to us, or either we would scout inside, but I think we're getting most of the things on time. You need to get it before the publication and before the patent couldn't be applied. So it's not perfect, but I think a good job is done.